Shooting USA is brought to you by SnapSafe and the full line of Trek-Lite lockboxes. Affordable security for home or travel. Get 15% off with code SUSA15 at snapsafe.com. The Flintlock. It seems primitive to us now, but it's arguably the most successful small arms ignition system in history, setting off charges for well over 200 years. And even though its basic layout changed very little in all that time, a lot more went into perfecting the Flintlock than you might imagine. A flash and a shower of sparks, followed by a smoky report. Any shooter today could tell you this is a Flintlock. For certain, a proud reminder of buckskins, powder horns, and the forging of a young America. These days, the Flintlock may seem like an antique attempt at a better mousetrap. The hard stone flint of the hammer strikes the frizzen forward, shaving off bits of sparking iron that fall into the powder pan below. If all goes well, the flash ignites the charge and fires the gun. As unlikely as all that might sound, it worked. Before Flint, small arms ignition was unwieldy at best. Systems like the matchlock were cumbersome, unreliable, and slow. So when it arrived on the scene around 1630, the Flintlock was an innovative leap. Although the basic configuration wouldn't change much, gun makers around the world would spend the next 2 centuries working to squeeze every possible bit of improvement out of the Flintlock.
The lock makers were very highly prized, the good lock makers, highly skilled.
Some of Dr. Lewis Drake's English guns are the best of the best, and it's obvious that the great lock makers were both artists and innovators. But over the centuries, their shops and workbenches changed very little.
You'll see screwdrivers, little chunks of stones of all different grits. And then he'll have his jigs that he made to hold all the parts and to set them up and to file them and work them down. He made those as an apprentice, and he would use those all his life.
Elegant lines of steel and iron, all formed by hand. Even a century and a half later, the Flintlocks of the finest makers are still something to behold. Look closely at what's inside this John Manton masterpiece.
This is one of the finest pieces of lock work I've ever seen in my life. The ones on this gun are very intricate in that they are equipped with a fly. The tumbler is equipped with a fly. And also it has a sliding safety to lock the cock at half cock as a safety measure. And the fly is this little part right here. You can see here as the cock starts to drop, that the fly allows the lip of the sear to pass over the half-cock notch so that it doesn't stick on half-cock. That's its purpose. And it is slick as glass the way it works. Tiny little parts fit together like a watch. Now, see these things here? The little curlicues there? You know why he did that? Because he could. The lockmaker did that because he could. That's incredibly difficult to pull off and to do.
No doubt, and even the lock's mortise is artfully done.
Every little detail has been removed so that the lock and the parts fit perfectly in there. And there you have it. Fits in the mortise perfectly and fits up perfectly flush against the breech.
Simply amazing. But in the days of Flint, there was one elusive goal for every lockmaker that was also the most challenging. speed.
The .22 Advanced Rifle Cartridge easily outperforms all other .22 caliber cartridges in its class, producing .22 250 performance in an AR-15 platform. The .22 ARC is engineered to take full advantage of the most aerodynamic .22 caliber bullets. This means tighter groups, increased accuracy, and an exceptional shooting experience. .22 Advanced Rifle Cartridge from Hornady.
In the age of Flint, every great lockmaker strived to overcome the Flintlock shortcoming: lag time, the delay between the trigger pull and the detonation of the charge, a delay that could mean the difference between hitting or missing a target. The goal was to make the fastest locks, and that meant finding ways to shave the timing down by milliseconds. By the early 1800s, the Flintlock had come as close to perfection as it ever would. 2 centuries of refinement had the leading gunmakers building the fastest locks the world had seen. And it took a true master of metalwork to build the internals that would make a lock perform with the best.
They were oily, they felt oily, and they no oil on them, made from iron, and then case hardened so that they have that thin layer of high carbon, rock hard steel on the outside, and slick as glass, and they will never wear out.
But working the metal was only part of the process. When building a lock with fast ignition and little lag time, everything mattered.
The strength of the mainspring is critical. The strength of the frizzen spring is critical. All of the arcs and all of the dimensions and all of the placement of the touch hole and this radius right here that the flint follows down the frizzen and shaving off the metal parts. To create the spark, the timing, and where that flint is going to strike that frizzen and kick it back just in the right time to throw the shower of sparks into the pan is all of that's critical to the making of a lock that had very, very fast ignition and very little lag time. Every bit of it is planned. Every bit of it. That knowledge on how to do that is largely lost.
That knowledge began to fade with the arrival of the percussion cap lock. When it came on scene in the early 1800s, the percussion system was simple, easier to produce, and above all, instantaneous. Suddenly, the average blacksmith could build a lock that was faster than the fastest flint. But even so, a fine English flint gun could at least give the percussion cap a run for its money. See for yourself. First, a Jacobs percussion double rifle, a very fine gun in itself from about 1860. Now, the John Manton flint gun from 1796. Pretty amazing, but let's watch it again, frame by frame. A spark, the flash, ignition, just 3 frames. Now the percussion, hammer strike, cap fire, ignition. Incredibly, it seems to be neck and neck. When slowed to 1/8 speed, it's impressive to watch. However, it looks like a slight hang fire with the Jacobs. That might even give the Manton flint a little advantage. Now, the Manton. The lag is there, but it's not what the legends would have you believe. To be fair, the second barrel shows a different result, and the cap lock closes the gap. But it's quite apparent that even after a century and a half, this excellent Manton flintlock is still a fast gun that can perform with the best of them.
Thanks again for tuning into the Shooting USA YouTube channel. We hope you enjoyed the content. A couple of notes. Make sure you take advantage of SUSA15 at snapsafe.com. That's our discount code that saves you 15% on anything from SnapSafe, and that gets to be some big money when you start talking about modular safes and vault doors. Also, if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our new content. As always, a like and a comment helps us with that algorithm.